Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chat. Not as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Looks like the pollsters have spoken, and the EPU files tradition of premiering at midnight instead of the normal scheduled time will continue. So just to be clear, the next two episodes of that'll be on the channel of the EPU files, or the main series videos, or whatever you want to call them, will be airing on October 9th and October 23rd at midnight. Don't worry, there'll be premieres, so, you know, you'll have time to see and be verified for that. And by the time this episode comes out, I think the premiere for the next episode will be out then. At least it'll be started. I'll at least, I might include, I guess I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. I've teased it a little bit before, but it is going to be about Nosferatu. But the thing is, it's not necessarily that much of an EPU files per se, but it will have the branding of EPU files, as it'll have the scary, X-Files theme on it. If you've seen the title, or know anything about the story of Nosferatu, you know that it's already not going, you already can kind of tell what the episode's going to be about, but it's a horror movie, so of course it's going to be EPU files themed or whatever. With the housekeeping out of the way, let's get right into the news. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about the so-called US 21-point plan for ending the Gaza war, which is bullshit. It's just unequivocally bullshit. And just to be clear, let's just go through their points, because it's a 21-point plan, and it's just, again, similar to basically every single plan in regards to quote-unquote ending the problem with Israel and Palestine. It's just not true. It's just completely wrong. It's just, let's just get into it. First, similar to the last time Donald Trump tried to propose a quote-unquote peaceful plan in Gaza, nobody from Gaza or Palestine was invited to the meeting. In fact, Donald Trump explicitly banned Palestinians from being in the room because he revoked their visas so they couldn't attend the UN where the meeting and the quote-unquote plan was proposed. So let's just get into all the 21 points. Gaza will be de-radicalized, terror-free zones that do not pose a threat to its neighbors. Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of its people. If Israel and Hamas agree to the proposal, the war will immediately end with the IDF halting all operations and gradually withdrawing from the Strip. Within 24 hours of Israel publicly accepting the deal, all living and deceased hostages will be returned. Once the hostages are returned, Israel will free several hundred Palestinian security prisoners serving life sentences and over 1,000 Gazans arrested since the start of the war. Once the hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence will be granted amnesty, while members who wish to leave the Strip will be granted safe passage to receiving countries. Once this agreement is reached, aid will surge into the Gaza Strip at rates no lower than the benchmark set in January 2025. Aid will be distributed without interference from either side by the United Nations and the Red Crescent, along with other international organizations not associated with Israel or Hamas. Gaza will be administered by a temporary transitional government of Palestinian technocrats who will be responsible for providing day-to-day services for the people of the Strip. The committee will be supervised by a new international body created by the US in consultation with Arab and European partners. It will be established as a framework for funding the redevelopment of Gaza until Palestinian Authority has completed its reform program. An economic plan will be created to rebuild Gaza through the converting of experts with experience in constructing modern Middle Eastern cities through the consideration of existing plans aimed at attracting investment and creating jobs. An economic zone will be established with reduced tariffs and access rates to negotiate with participating countries. No one will be forced to leave Gaza, but those who choose to leave will be allowed to return. Moreover, Gazans will be encouraged to remain in the Strip and offered an opportunity to build a better future there. Hamas will have no role in Gaza's government whatsoever. There will be a commitment to destroy and stop building any offensive military structure, including tunnels. Gaza's new leaders will commit to peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. A security guarantee will be provided by the regional partners to ensure that Hamas and other Gaza factions comply with their obligations and that Gaza ceases to pose a threat to Israel and its own people. The US will work with the Arab and other national partners to develop a temporary international stabilization force that will immediately deploy in Gaza to oversee security in the Strip. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. The IDF will gradually hand over territory in its current occupied territories. If Hamas delays or rejects the proposal, the above points will proceed in terror-free areas, which the IDF will gradually hand over and return to the International Stabilization Force. Israel agrees not to continue further strikes on Qatar. A process will be established to de-radicalize the population. This will include interfaith dialogues aimed at challenging mindsets in the narratives in Israel and Gaza. When Gaza's redevelopment has been advanced and the PA reform program has been implemented, the conditions may be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian statehood. The U.S. will establish a dialogue between Israel and Palestine to agree on a political horizon for peaceful coexistence. Now, there's, at a first glance, some of these things aren't necessarily wrong per se, but then it's always the devil's in the details. And one of the big things that's noticed immediately when you read that, I'll include, the Times of Israel article in the description that, gives you, the full ones, because I kind of, skimmed over some of the longer ones. But here's the thing, there are some things, first of all, again, notice how, first of all, no Palestinian was invited, again. And Israel and the U.S. were the ones who negotiated this deal. And that is immediately telling, because what happens is that if you read that again, it's okay, so if Gaza does this, all the things that, all the things that Gaza and Palestine and Hamas, they have to do things immediately. All the things they have to do is, you have to immediately do this. You have to immediately release the hostages. You have to immediately demilitarize. You have to immediately transition power. You have to immediately leave. But Israel, there's they get to wait. Notice again, it's they have to immediately release all the Israeli hostages. They have to immediately do all this. And it's only after they do that Israel then has to go around and go, okay, now it's our turn to do stuff. And considering Israel has literally broken every single peace deal in the past, that is obviously not going to happen. And it's also pretty clear just by looking at it just objectively, it's they're just trying to turn Gaza into a Western ally, and it's just but what again, it's oh well, Gaza has to make it so that they can't elect certain people and they can't have people in power, but also it's but Israel, no sense of buts. And then also bullshit at the end where it's oh, but if once we do this, then we can begin the pathway to becoming your own independent nation. It's why can't you just do that now? Why can't that be the immediate one? And there's a reason why, because if they they just don't want statehood. Israel's there's no faith. And also just by the time I'm recording this, I think it's been a couple of days since Israel I don't know if they even accepted the deal, but the timetable seems to have passed, so it's irrelevant. But it's just, I just wanted to show this to show that, again, they have no interest in peace. And also I needed to mention the person who's in charge, who they put a certain person in charge of Gaza during the time period, and the person who put in charge would be Tony Blair, the guy who led British involvement in the Iraq War, because, he just loves killing the listeners. Anyways, let's move on to the next story, also about Israel, and it's about the Freedom Flotilla. The global Sumud Flotilla, unfortunately, was seized by Israel. Not necessarily that surprising. Multiple politicians were on board. Shock of all shocks. Greta Thunberg also was on board, and everybody knew this was gonna happen. I gotta be. We all knew this was gonna happen. They're not gonna get through. I think there is one more ship that is still in the road, but I don't know. I think they're still on the path, but I don't know. If I'll do a little bit further research and put it in the description if that ship got through. But there were some positives allegedly. You see, first of all, we knew there was some sad things that happened. Obviously, the big thing is, of course, the flotilla got attacked and it's been seized, and all the activists were arrested. And one of the big things that was a very sad thing was when they were posting videos about how they got so desperate that they literally just started grabbing bottles and filled them with baby formula and then tossed them in the ocean, hoping that the current would take it so that it would float to Gaza. And that's sad, but there is some positive. I want to give one small positive before we get into a bigger part of the story. Is the slight positive thing is apparently the Israeli Navy was so focused on the flotilla that, this is all alleged. I don't know. I can't verify this because, shock of all shocks, Israel murdered all the journalists in Gaza, so we can't really tell. But what has happened is that Israel, since they were super focused on getting this flotilla, apparently they let up some of their ships that were preventing Gazans from fishing. So Gazans immediately just started okay, here's our chance, and they just started rapidly fishing. So I don't know how well that did or how much that makes a difference, but it seems to have made at least a slight bit of difference. And of course, all of the all the quote unquote journalists and all of the fucking like pundits who are like fucking like bought by the Israelis are like cheering on and doing whatever. Like there was this one fucking like person who was literally like one of the big things is like they like looked into the flotilla and they're just like, man, the flotilla, it doesn't have any food or water. That's interesting. That's weird. That's weird. That's so weird. First of all, like Itamar Ben-Gvir like did that. He's like, where is the food? Where is the food? It's like, I don't fucking care what this fucking loser has to say. But like another one is that there's this one person this random person, just random like fucking like, I don't know who they are. They're like a fucking like TikToker or something. And they're like, yeah, the Freedom Flotilla is so weird. And then like they made this video talking about like, oh, there's only condoms out here. What the heck? These guys are just doing condoms. What the heck? And it turns out it's like, this isn't even the flotilla. I have no clue. This woman is just lying. It's just like, of course, person who wants to save Israel is lying. What a concept. But of course, there's some people who are pointing out that there is like Greta Thunberg, who was originally treated like slightly better than other people who were on the Freedom Flotilla in the past. You know, Christian Smalls was of course like he was treated extremely shitty because he was one of the only like black people who was on board the flotilla, and you know the Israelis didn't treat him nice. Wow, what a shocker. But Greta Thunberg, because this is her repeat offense, apparently this time they treated her really bad. According to like the people who were in the Freedom Flotilla, who've been corresponding with people in the West, is that like first of all, the big allegation is that they shipped these guys to go to a prison that is explicitly well known for its mistreatment of the Palestinians prisoners who were there. And it's like, uh-oh. And it turns out that she may have been dehydrated. They may have like quote unquote forgotten to feed her. They forced her into they forced her into a bed with bed bugs in it. They apparently grabbed her by the hair and like dragged her around, and even went so far as to force her to kiss an Israeli flag. But just so you know, guys, the Israelis are the good guys in this scenario. They're the heroes fighting against evil. Give me a fucking break. Like doing this to fucking Greta Thunberg of all people just shows that they're just, I mean, I guess they still think she's a kid. I guess they still think she's a kid. I mean, they wouldn't treat her like this if they didn't think she was a kid. Anyways, not much more I can say except for whenever the next flotilla comes, let's go, guys. Let's go, guys. Anyways, let's move on to the United States and a story that's a bit interesting. So, hundreds of celebrities have relaunched something from the Cold War. Okay, so let me explain. So, back during the Cold War, we all know Joe McCarthy. He did his famous anti-communist hearings in the House Un-American Activities Committee, and a lot of actors were sent to those committees because they had left leanings. And one of the things that happened was that a bunch of actors back in the day created the Committee for the First Amendment, which was basically a bunch of actors that stood together to combat against this, Red Scare McCarthyism, as we would all call it. And, well, turns out they're starting it back up. Over 550 celebrities have relaunched the Committee for the First Amendment in response to the treatment of the First Amendment in the Trump administration. I guess this has technically been quote unquote started for Kimmel, but I guess technically it I guess this is more because some of the celebrities who are in this committee are a bit more radical politically, or not even necessarily radical politically. I guess technically one is radical politically. It's Jane Fonda. She's fucking what was the nickname they fucking gave her? Hanoi Jane. Yeah, because she was extremely supportive. She's the one who's leading this charge. So it's this is probably pretty good actually. And some of the celebrities that are involved in it, some of them you might recognize, some of them you might not. Some of them are radical, some of them are not. There's Barbra Streisand, John Legend, Billie Eilish, Mark Ruffalo, Anne Hathaway, Natalie Portman, Ben Stiller, Pedro Pascal, Spike Lee, J.J. Abrams, some, again, it's some of these people are there for actual radical political reasons. Some of them are, of course, just there for liberal stand up against Trump. But solidarity where you get it, my friends. You gotta understand, solidarity doesn't mean we all team up and we're all fucking radical communists. Solidarity means that sometimes we gotta pick some people who are not necessarily radicals like us. Anyways, that's pretty much all I gotta say on that. Hopefully this is a good vehicle for, you know, more radical activism in the fucking, like, celebrity sphere. You know, maybe we might need some more actor strikes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But anyway, speaking of Donald Trump has shut down the United States federal government because he does not want the Epstein files to be released. Like, it's just super obvious. Like, I mean, that's literally the only reason why. Like, I mean, I guess there are probably other reasons why they want the government to shut down, but, like, yeah, like, first of all, they're doing it because, you know, they're doing the whole thing where it's like, oh, like, and it's like, oh, Republicans aren't racist at all. And it's like, the only, like, their insult is literally sombreros. Like, they're literally their insult for Democrats is literally just photoshopping them with sombreros on. It's like, what's the insult? Like, I mean, if you're not racist, what's the insult? I don't get it. The whole thing is, like, they're trying to say, like, oh, the Democrats are trying to fund, like, they're trying to give, like, funding to illegal immigrants for healthcare. It's like, I mean, that's not true, but also, I don't give a fuck if it is, so it's like, what's your argument? And this is the funny thing, it's like, you can really only do that to, like, fucking, like, other reactionaries, other, like, fucking, like, fascist type people. You could only say this kind of stuff to them, and it's like, and what other, like, to normal other people, it's like, okay, so what? I mean, yeah, Democrats could easily just say it's not true, because it's not true. It's just not. It's just not. It's just unequivocally not true. But people also point out the very odd coincidence, because if you remember, Arizona District 7, you know, after Raul Grijalva died, his daughter Adelita Grijalva, she won the seat instead. She won the seat in a special election, and when two Republicans, I think it was Matt Gaetz' seat and, like, another fucking, like, it was Randy Fine and the fucking guy who replaced the other guy. It's like, you know what I'm talking about. The two Republican, like, special elections that happened earlier in the year. When that happened, they were immediately sworn in. But now, Adelita Grijalva, like, and it was like, they had a Democrat special election earlier in the year, and he took like a week to get signed in. But now, Adelita Grijalva has shown up, and she will not be, the government conveniently shuts down right when she is going to sign in. Why? Well, it just so happens that literally right after that, she said, you know what? I would be the 218th member of Congress to sign the letter releasing the Epstein files. And, shock of all shocks, that is 100% unequivocally what happened. Like, almost immediately, government shuts down. Like, it's just so fucking weird. It's just like, it's just so obvious Donald Trump is in the fucking Epstein files and he fucked kids. That is just so obvious. It's just so fucking obvious. They're not hiding it at all. Like, they think, I don't even know if they think they're being clever about this. They just objectively it's literally the equivalent of, like, a kid who's hiding their, like, fucking, like, toys underneath their bed. It's like, you're not doing a good job hiding it. But that's the point. I don't even know if they, like, I don't think they want to. Like, it's the same reason why they, like the Republican Party released, like, a fucking, like, Epstein, like, it's like, oh, the Epstein list. And then it's like, you click it and it's a fucking Rickroll. It's like, they did that because they know they can get away with it. They know Donald Trump is guilty. They know he did it. They know he fucked kids, and they know it. They know it. They either know it or they believe it. Because there's no way, if you guys didn't believe it, you wouldn't care if it was released. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Kash Patel is the 100% proof that I have that Donald Trump is in the fucking Epstein files, and there's something in there that is fucking, there is something in there that he does not want us to see. Because Kash Patel, before Donald Trump gets, like, sworn in, and before he picks Kash Patel to be the FBI head, before he has any position, he's not in any legal position to read what is in the files. He goes, we're gonna release the Epstein files. We're gonna do this. We're gonna, like, do this, like every single one of these other, like, fucking, like random conservatives on the bottom floor. And then once they get to that position where they can do that, magically, Kash Patel was like, you know what? I don't think we need to release the Epstein files anymore. It's like, huh? What happened? What happened between then and now? Oh, you opened them and you read them? I wonder if there was something in there that you just don't want us to see. Because Kash Patel knows, if he releases those files, then every single conservative in this fucking country, every single one of them, every single one of these Republican politicians have to publicly admit that they, like, did everything. They spent their entire lives, they spent an entire decade of their lives cheerleading an actual literal child molester. And this is the only way they can get out of it. And I don't get why fucking Republicans and all these fucking like reactionary guys just don't understand this as it is now. I mean, again, I am not even sure if they don't. I'm not even sure that, like, I mean, some don't, because, like, you got, like, the next story. This one's just a funny story that I saw. Okay, so the Qanon Shaman, remember him? The guy who, like, invaded the Capitol building on fucking, like, January 6th and, like, you know, did, like, what he did. Then he was accused of being, like, Antifa, and then he's like, I'm not Antifa, and then he got pardoned because, you know, of course he's not Antifa. And then, literally, what happened is that he is now suing Donald Trump for $40 trillion, and in his lawsuit, it wasn't really a lawsuit, it was really just like a fucking like way to complain publicly about like his drive. And like it's like, basically, like as it says in the article here, the entire complaint, which is more akin to a manifesto than a formal legal document, is presented in a single paragraph. Like it's basically like a 26-page single paragraph. And he went on a lengthy complaint about how he no longer supports Donald Trump anymore because of the Epstein files. Because he's like he's named like Trump, the Federal Reserve, the NSA, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the State of Israel, Elon Musk, T-Mobile, Warner Bros. Like he's named like basically every single company that manages to exist. Like they're part of this like big governmental conspiracy. You know, it's because this is the weird thing. It's like I don't get this. This is the thing I just don't fucking understand. Why did any of these people, I don't get how any of these people convinced themselves that Trump was going to release the Epstein files. I don't get it. He's in them. It's unequivocal. The first, like, the people who were the first ones to make Epstein jokes about, like, Epstein and a conspiracy were literally liberals, Democrats. They were the ones that were like, yeah, Trump killed Epstein. That's literally what happened. That's obviously what happened. Donald Trump's the president. He has all the power to kill Epstein. He would do it. That's what happened. But then somehow they convinced me, no. Trump, who's been best friends with Epstein for a million years, Trump, who stayed friends with Epstein after he got arrested for child rape the first time, no. He was actually like working like a secret undercover, like the deep state. Like they went through so many fucking loops to convince themselves that they were supporting the guy who was going to release Epstein files. When it's like he's literally the guy who did it. It's the same way that, like, fucking back in, like, the fucking, I don't want to necessarily use this, I guess like, the main topic relates to this, like, comparison, but the Nazis said, oh, there's going to be this big lie, like, the people in charge are going to do this one big, massive lie, and then when they do that big, massive lie will be, like, there's no way we believe it's, like, there's no way that that's not true. No one would make up a lie this bad. And then immediately afterwards did the Reichstag fire and lied about it. So it's like, yeah. Like, yeah. These guys are just so, I don't get it. I don't understand. And again, this is more related to the main topic, but I guess I just want to also do this other one to further emphasize the point about why did these guys think the Epstein files would be released by Donald Trump when, literally, just like not that long ago, Robert Morris, a Texas megachurch pastor, pleads guilty to child sexual abuse. He was supposed to get a 10-year sentence, but will only serve 6 months in an Oklahoma jail. Now, those of you might be wondering, like, why did I bring this up? What's this relation? Robert Morris was Donald Trump's spiritual advisor for 2, possibly all 3, of his presidential campaigns. He was literally in the room when they picked Amy Coney Barrett. This guy is this guy was part of Donald Trump's inner circle. Yeah, again, what made you think that the people who put these guys in the administration, he tried to put the guy who let Epstein out of jail in his administration? Why do you guys convince yourselves that Donald Trump wasn't the one fucking the kids? It's probably just because, you know, the whole, like, spiel that, like, all those, like, far-right conspiracies, they're just, like, made up by people in, like, other countries. Like, this is what it is, unfortunately. I will say, this video, this recent one is gonna make me, I'm sort of half thinking of maybe doing, like, a compilation video where it's, like, I make, like, a short compilation video of, like, every single pedophile that Donald Trump is associated with, and it's just, like, because, dude, there's way too many. And the thing is, I even already have the twist. Like, the twist is at the end, it's gonna be Epstein. Like, I mean, I could start with Epstein and whatever, but that's irrelevant because there are so many more people. Like, literally this week, Donald Trump, like, literally, I just watched a video of Donald Trump today, literally saying that he was thinking of pardoning P. Diddy. Why? Because they were friends. And this is so interesting to think about in retrospect, because, like, I'm actually remembering, like, back in 2016, where people were, like when Donald Trump's, like, sexual assault allegations and stuff were coming out originally, literally, conservatives at the time convinced themselves that the reason why he did that was because back in the day, he was a Democrat. So it's like, well, now he's a Republican now, so he's changed. It's like, sure, buddy, sure. And all these other Republicans that are in his administration, all this other stuff that literally did all this stuff, you know, ignore that part. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's move on to the main topic of this video. This video, I was going to name it something else, but I think I'm just going to name it something that makes it sort of a sequel to my Liberalism is Dead video. But this one isn't necessarily like that. You see, my Liberalism is Dead video was basically about how the ideology was slowly, like, kind of like becoming politically irrelevant because it is kind of like just not really fitting in with the modern day's needs and struggles. Meanwhile, for this episode, I don't think conservatism really did that. I think what conservatism did is basically killed itself. Like, I think basically conservatism committed suicide to let someone else take the lead. I recommend you watch my fucking Liberalism is Dead video. I think that one's pretty good too. But this one I think is going to be pretty good as well. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be as good as that one. I don't know. But yeah, this one won't be as good as the Liberalism is Dead video because, you know, the Liberalism is Dead video was one I was preparing for a while. This one, I kind of like just thought about it like not that long ago. But luckily I did have enough to say about it because this is something I have been thinking about for a while. I think I might have said it in a previous podcast or previous episode that I literally did say that I didn't want to use the term conservative anymore because I don't think they exist anymore. Like, I literally don't. I don't think conservatism exists in the modern day anymore. Really don't. But I guess we just gotta rewind. Like, let's rewind before I get into that. I guess we gotta address this one. What is conservatism? And I think the best bet is to just give like the basic Wikipedia definition. Conservatism is a cultural, social, and political philosophy and ideology that seeks to promote and preserve traditional institutions, customs, and values. Pretty basic definition of like conservatism itself, like, because again, we gotta like focus, like, this is like focusing on like specifically the ideology of conservatism, not like the broader right wing of the American world, or like the broader right wing of like any political sense. Just specifically the ideology of conservatism. We all know that the United States Republican Party has been the primary movers of conservative thought in the United States. And while there are certain specifics that might vary between various factions of conservatism, the general consensus of the idea of conservatism remains the same. Sometimes you even see debates among the conservative movement on what conservatism actually meant. Like, some argue that traditional values were so important that they needed to be explicitly enforced by the state, while some argued that traditional values in America meant that the state should not have that much power to enforce any morality on the people. Some argued that, you know, the traditional values of, you know, America were rooted in Christianity, related in like regards to like religion and like philosophy, like that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, others were like, well, it kind of transcends that because, you know, America's not a Christian nation. America is like, I mean, yeah, there are some like elements of like Christianity like that are kind of based in it, but like our philosophy kind of extends more beyond that. So it's more Western values rather than Christian values. But yeah, like regardless of like the infighting, you know, there were some broad ideological tenets that remained the same. They believe capitalism is good, Western values were better than the values of other places around the world, traditional lifestyles are better than other kinds of lifestyles, and life was generally better in the past when people were more traditional. But again, we gotta acknowledge that there are various different types of conservatism in the United States. And, you know, some broader viewpoints that we have here, like, you know, like, I mean, a lot of them vary different ideologically from each other, you know. Religious conservatism, which not only has various differences between, like, various other religious types of conservatism, like, yeah, a lot of different religions have conservatism in it. In fact, we'd probably argue that many religious people are more generally conservative because of the emphasis on, like, traditional religious values. But there's, of course, various ideological differences between different types of, like, religious conservatism. You know, a Muslim conservative can't really claim that much of a tradition in the United States, despite them having a lot of alignment with what, like, Christian fundamentalists in America would probably advocate for. There's neoconservatism, which believes in things like, free trade and the United States to be more involved in world affairs, where paleoconservatives believed in a more isolationist viewpoint of the world. And yeah, you're starting to kind of see a little bit of the problem. All of these people unite together under one political banner, but they're not really united on a plan to address these things. The only really broad form of agreement that they have is that they are opposed to so-called modern societal trends, with no broad agreement on what that means. As noted before, the new right versus the old right, neocons versus paleocons. You see, paleocons would probably argue, traditional American values kind of would be like, we need to be part of the intermediate, there was the intermediate style of isolationist politics that happened between World War I and World War II, and they're like, we need to kind of focus on that era. Meanwhile, neocons are kind of broader in the tradition of we need to be part of the American, spread our wings across the world, that kind of stuff. But broadly, you don't necessarily expect 100% ideological consistency from every single person, because I've mentioned before I take some ideological viewpoints of a lot of different people, and they have some broad ideological disagreements. But I guess it's also because I don't necessarily I get for an individual person, I guess it's one thing, but for a broader political movement, it's a little bit more difficult. And I mean, just not to be too mean, but socialists have people on the left, they have a more of an ideological agreement and understanding with each other. Socialists, even if you believe in different types of socialism, they broadly agree on the exact same goals. Meanwhile, conservatism is a little bit more wishy-washy in a sense. And yeah, that's where things have started to shift. As mentioned prior, I have tried to avoid using the term conservative to describe the political right in America not anymore, because I've generally come to the conclusion that conservatism no longer exists. And, without beating around the bush, Donald Trump is what killed it. I know a lot of people like to make memes and jokes about how old conservatives were a lot similar to Trump, but that's not exactly true. Yes, there are trends that previous conservative administrations did that led to what is happening now, and you could argue that it's just a slow burn that the right wing has been doing for a long time, but when Donald Trump came in, he just, it was just gone. We might have had a few more years to go, or a couple more administrations before the United States right had become extremely hard right. But it's at the point where gone now. In most Western democracies, people like Trump and people Cruz or Pence, they wouldn't be part of the same party. One would be part of the traditional conservative party, and then the other one would be part of the more extreme hard right party. And yeah, that's the thing. The difference is, in America, one of them has been forcibly swallowed up. Since we only have a two-party system, one of them just got swallowed up by the other, thing. And the best term that I think to describe the right-wing movement in the United States as it exists today is reactionary. You may have noticed it. I've made a couple of videos where it's I said this isn't. I didn't call them conservative. I've called them reactionary. In my most recent Senate ranking video, I literally point blank said yeah, people who claim to be conservatives, you can't do certain things because when you're advocating for this thing, it's not even conservatism. You're not conserving it. You're literally just going against social progress. But again, I guess I should define what reactionary is. A reactionary is a person who favors a return to a previous state of society which they believe possesses positive characteristics absent from the contemporary. Now you might be questioning, okay, but what's the difference? These two sound like similar terms, and yes, they are similar terms. Yes, in a similar way that communism and socialism are similar terms, but they're not one-to-one. There's a bit of an ideological framework when it comes to conservatives and reactionaries based on right-wing beliefs. They have broad ideological agreement in social hierarchy is good, tradition is good, but again, it's similar to you can't say that a social democrat and a socialist are the same thing. They both believe that social hierarchies are bad because that is just what left-wing politics is. They believe that social hierarchy is not good, or at the very least, it should be reformed, but they're not the same thing. There's one term is more radical than the other. And there are a lot of differences that I can really say between reactionaries and conservatives that really do show the difference. And let's just get into some of them. One, cult-like mentality. in before you go, but you're an anti-theist. You believe that all religions are cults. How can you claim that old conservatives are not cultists? Yeah, correct. I do believe that religion in and of itself is cultish, but that's where things get different. Like, it's like, there's a slight difference. I mean, I know, again, it's not, again, it's a little bit difficult, but it's like, there is a slight difference. We are at the point nowadays where there are pastors that literally pray to Donald Trump. Trump sells Bibles with his name on it. Like, in the past, I'm pretty sure that would have been a bit too far for these religious fundamentalists. They literally say, like, Jesus Christ is Lord. So, it's like, they believe he is the ultimate power. But now, Donald Trump is elevating himself so that he is the secondary power to him. That's not necessarily, like, traditional, in my opinion, I don't think. 2, consistency. Like, I know conservatives are not necessarily the most consistent ideologically, but there was at least some form of logic in their brains. You know, I believe X, ergo Y. Like for example, like, you know, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, go to church every Sunday. They believe that society is good, ergo they advocate for policies that try to bring us to that, like, society. That is their belief system. They believe X, ergo Y. There is, like, a line that is there. Like, it's a stupid line, and it's not a, like, actual line that makes any sense, because, like, you know, them going to church isn't the thing that made society great, but that is a line that exists. I just don't see that in the modern day reactionary movement. Neither their voters nor politicians can really explain anything that leads them to believe what they do. Like, coming from experience, I've seen people who are reactionary literally just explain to me, like, it's like, oh, I need this. The government gives so much money to these people, and I can't get any help at all. Ergo, I will support cutting all those programs so that I can't get help. It's like, wait, what? Where's the line? There is no line there. Like, I don't see the line that is in that situation. I want to vote for a president who brings America first, which is why I'm going to vote for the guy who literally is in the pocket of multiple foreign governments. On the politician level, it's even more pathetic, because the politicians, they either just have to brazenly lie about why they're doing certain things, or they're just too stupid to understand. Like, it's probably just blatant lying, because, like, I really don't understand how this works. Okay, so we live in a world where Rand Paul, Tom Cotton, and Tulsi Gabbard, and Michael Rectenwald and Dave Smith, they all support Donald Trump. They all supported him. They all actively campaigned for him, voted for him, said he was the better candidate. But it makes no sense if you know anything about, like, any of them. I don't get it. Like, I guess I should mention, there's another guy I forgot to mention, because the notes here are a bit different, but Mike Lee's also in that crowd. All of them supported Donald Trump, at least in 2020 and 2024. Well, I mean, I guess we'll just go with the 2024 bit. They all supported him in 2024. But if you look into any of them, it's like, how does this make sense at all? It's like, so Tulsi Gabbard and Rand Paul, these two guys spend their careers crying about regime change wars. We hate regime change wars. We hate foreign policy. We hate America getting involved in all these, like, massive foreign policy blunders. And then they turn around and vote for the guy who wants to bring us into more regime change wars. Like, literally, here they are. Like I said, like, Tulsi Gabbard, literally, she ran for president in 2020 explicitly because she didn't like Donald Trump's foreign policy. And yet she's now on the stage sucking his cock. Rand Paul is like, his dad is literally like the leader of the fucking American isolationist movement in the fucking 2010s. And, like, again, now he's going around to support Donald Trump. Mike Lee and Rand Paul, they brought in a bill specifically to end Donald Trump's foreign policy in Yemen, and then here they are, they're like, oh yes sir, Donald Trump sir. Mike Lee's even more fucking pathetic, because it's like, Mike Lee is the fucking dumbest motherfucker on the planet, in any sense of the word, because like even on the, like, I explicitly call him the biggest cuck of the Republican Party, because on one end, he is like, he ran, I probably should make a fucking whole episode about Mike Lee, because Mike Lee is fucking pathetic. He's pathetic. He's the most pathetic loser ever, and I don't understand this fucking loser. So Mike Lee basically begins his career in Congress as I'm like a constitutional conservative. I believe that we need to rein in government power. You know, basically borderline being a libertarian. And then, like, one of his big things was, like, he advocated against the U.S. government regulating the internet. He supported internet freedom. You know, I think he spoke out about SOPA. I could be misremembering. But he also, like, was like, we're going to rein in the NSA wiretapping abilities. And now he's also supporting, you know, cheerleading the spyware against Antifa. And he wants to ban porn online. Where'd the freedom go, Mike? Where'd it go? Where'd the freedom go? He previes himself as like, oh, I want the United States to get out of these like foreign affairs and bring more money back here, and then also votes for Evan McMullin in 2016, then backs Trump, even though he again, you know, brought a bill specifically to stop Trump from doing certain bad things in foreign policy. But you know, whatever. Like, how does that make sense? Dave Smith and Michael Regenwald, they're like, oh, I fucking hate Israel. Like, they're like, fuck Israel. Israel sucks. America needs to cut off all ties with Israel. Israel's committing a genocide in Gaza. Israel's doing blah, blah, blah. They're saying all this. 2024, they backed Israel's candidate. Where is this? I don't get it. In what world does this make sense? Literally, even if you don't, like, there should be a line, like, I believe X, ergo Y. I don't get where the line is for ideological consistency. Because they don't. They're just reacting to what other people are doing and going off of that. They don't have an actual philosophy to base their viewpoints on. They're just saying things to say things. Like, they're just saying this to do this. 3. Respect for the law. Donald Trump is a convicted felon who has not only openly tried to rig the presidential election of 2020, attempted to overthrow the United States government after that attempt failed, but also has a decent amount of evidence indicating that he has raped children. And his administration has openly stomped on many of the amendments to our Constitution, including but not limited to Amendment 1, Amendment 2, Amendment 4, Amendment 5, Amendment 6, Amendment 8, 14, and 22. And many of his followers openly shit on them too. They cheerleaded for Kimmel and Colbert to be fired, and Trump took action to try and make that easier. Like, the later ones, you could have some basis and some BS conservative idea, but like, again, he shat on Amendments 1, 2, 4, 5, and 8. America did not exist before those fucking amendments, in any sense of the word. So you can't claim you're some sort of conservative, and then also go, we need to repeal these amendments. Like, what? What are you conservative? What are you conserving? Like, it's even gotten to the point where literally this week, the U.S. Treasury has openly floated talking about printing money with Trump's face on it. That's literally illegal. That's actually literally illegal. He just keeps breaking laws overwhelmingly, and back in the day, that wasn't allowed. Like I don't remember the full, because it didn't get to an impeachment vote, but like, a lot of people, even people on the Republican side of the aisle or the conservative side of the aisle, even they were like, Nixon, you're kind of doing a little bit weird, but we're gonna pull back on some of that. And the last point of contention in that is this one, and I think this one is kind of like a big thing. It's conservatives actually believed the things they did would be good. Like, it's one of the big things that really is a fundamental difference between, like, a conservative and a reactionary to me. Conservatives used to actually believe that, like, they bought into the propaganda of, like, a white picket fence 2.5 kids and go to church and everything. Like, they bought into that. They believed that. They actually believed the things they did were good. Like, they actually genuinely believe, like, people becoming more religious will be good for you. Like going to church will be good for you. Like, even if you disagree with it, it's like they believe that. They believe that like putting getting rid of taxes would give people money and giving them aid. Like, that's what they used to believe. But the modern reactionary, they don't care. They have no hidden beliefs about what the world they do is going to do. They know that when they want to go to the 1950s, they're like, we're talking about the segregated part. We're talking about that. That's what we're talking about. We want to go back to that. We want to repeal those amendments. They revel in that. They make Pokemon parodies rounding immigrants up, and like they claim, oh, these people are like fleeing cartel violence, but now we're gonna round them up inhumanely and then send them back. They revel in that. They love that. They mock a man who gets brutally suffocated by the state. They mock children that the bombs of the United States murder. They mock the suicide of a trans teen they specifically made feel unsafe in the world. They know that the things that they do will lead to bad outcomes, and they don't care. They don't get to be part of the in-crowds that are fucking suffering. They want to make other people suffer, and more people, like, they want to make their in-crowd benefit and the out-crowd suffer. They know that, and that's who they are. Like, again, I might be a little too naive, but I really do believe that, like, the conservatives of yesteryear wouldn't approve of that. Like, I mean, it's why Bush and Cheney didn't support Trump. Like, yeah, I know they were stupid politicians and they suck in a lot of ways too, but they didn't do the things that Trump is doing. Bush didn't call the FCC to ban Donahue. He didn't ban protests against his administration. He didn't say, I mean, since we're in the middle of this Iraq war thing, you know, I might stick around a little bit longer than I'm supposed to. He didn't do that. The Lincoln Project exists for this very same reason. There was very clearly a line that Trump broke. And somehow that line was too far for the guy who built the Patriot Act, but not for the guy who wanted to end it, i.e. Mike Lee. I'll even go so far as to say it. Like, I mean, this is one thing, it's going to be a hot take. It's a hot take for me, but, like, it was a hot take that I used to say before, but it's now going to be a different hot take. I historically said that Ronald Reagan would probably be a Trump supporter. Like, I've always said that. Like, people would, like, say, like, oh, like, all the, like, I don't think any single past president would support Trump. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, there are a couple of past presidents that would support Trump, and I usually included Reagan in them, because, you know, a lot of people would, like, because I saw a lot of comparisons between Reagan and Trump. And yeah, I think that he would have probably supported the first two bids, but not anymore. I don't think he would have supported Trump anymore. I think he would have pulled back after the 2020 election and the January 6th insurrection. I mean, I know it's kind of weird just saying that, but, like, yeah, I think I believe that now. Like, literally, just that. And yeah, you might say, look, that's a bit of a low line. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's a super low line. You know, hey, a guy tried to rig the election so that he won, and also tried to overthrow the government when they didn't elect him. That is a super low line. And the fact that a lot of conservatives, like 77 million people, saw that. They saw him raping children, and they saw that, and they didn't say, well, I mean, that's a bridge too far. No, they were like, yes. Yeah, when that fucking crawls and dies, it's like, yeah, it's not fucking conservatism. It's reactionaryism. Like, at best, you're a reactionary. At worst, you're a fascist. I don't make the comparisons with Trumpism and Nazism with any lightness. In fact, I was one of the few people who, during the 2016 election, and even a little bit early in my fucking YouTube career, I was saying, like, well, maybe we shouldn't necessarily throw the word Nazi or fascist willy-nilly or whatever. But yeah, I don't believe that. But now I'm not doing it. I'm not throwing it lightly. He's broken the barriers to become a fascist. That's just it. Like, when we're at the point where the United States president, who tried to overthrow the government and then continues to joke about sticking around longer than the term limits say, and the right side of the aisle just accepts that, yeah, conservatism is dead. Like, it's just dead. Conservatism is dead. At best, you're a reactionary. At worst, you're a fascist. Now, the one question that some of you might have is, why did this happen? The simplest answer is actually pretty easy. It's just easy. Like, literally, it is just easy. It's easier to oppose something than to support something. Like, and that's what reactionary politics is. They don't have a support. They don't have an actual agenda. They don't have any policies. They just want to shit on other people. That is the ultimate being. That's why it's called being a reactionary. Social progress happens, and they're like, we want to get rid of that. We want to end that. That's it. That is the big thing. And let's explain it with the most long-standing reactionary talking point, 1350, at least to an extent, like 1350. What is easier for a person to believe? That there is a major issue with how we run society that touches on issues of systemic racism and classism and mental health care that leads to the 1350 statistic? Or that people just say, oh, well, black people just commit crimes because they're black. Like, what's more easy for someone to believe? And that's what makes being a reactionary easy. It's easy to you just turn your brain off and you just believe bullshit. That's why most reactionaries are like fucking like old white people who are like on Facebook and they see like a fucking Minion meme and they're like, what? Like, they just believe the first thing they'll read. It's just like, that's why almost all of them are just like, that's literally just the point. Like, literally, like, like, the libs of TikTok. It's just like, here's this one random out of context, like, fucking clip from a TV show. And it's just like, wow, that's so crazy. It's like, that's why they all believe bullshit and nonsense so easily. Like, and sadly, it's not just a problem with the American right wing. Like, I mean, while the reactionary, like, bug has completely rotted the American right wing, it started seeping into places that it shouldn't. Some liberals are now saying, well, I mean, I guess we could throw this one oppressed group under the bus, and becoming limp dick in the face of political blowback. Why? Because it's easier. It's easier. Most of the people who do this are not going to face any of the blowback from this. Some of the people who are allegedly left-wing decided, mostly due to contrarianism with other people on the left, or even just opposing liberals, to jump in bed with reactionaries for literally no reason. Because it's easier. You guys whined about Medicare for all so long, and now you're whining that the US government is giving away a vaccine free of charge? Why? Again, because it's easy. And it's unfortunately seeped into things that it shouldn't, like nerd culture. I've talked almost non-stop over the fact that the Star Wars fandom is basically ruined due to the rise of the dark side of the fandom with people like Star Wars Theory, who, rather than blaming an alleged decline of the quality of Star Wars on things like oversaturation in the media sphere, prioritizing quantity over quality, watering down the message to appeal to a broader audience, not actually having a plan for the franchise moving forward, things that actually can be blamed on real systemic issues like capitalism, on things like, the women! The films went woke! What is woke? I don't know. I've heard it a million times and I still don't know what it fucking means. And every time I look at the fucking actual definitions of it, conservatives get I guess not conservatives, reactionists, they get mad at me. I literally had that discussion where it's like someone tried to be like, I'm against wokeness. It's like, what's wokeness? You know what wokeness means. No, I don't. Yeah, come on. No, you know what wokeness means. It's like, oh, so you're against abolition of slavery? Because that's where the term woke comes from, because there was the group of abolitionists called the Wide Awakes. And it's like, oh, no, why are you saying that, bro? Why are you saying that, bro? It's like, again, what do you mean by woke? Tell me what you mean by woke. It's easier to complain about it. It's easier to complain about a show, movie, book, etc. Harder to actually make it. Literally, it's just it's easier to be against something than be for something. And that's just not a route that I think is good for actual doing anything. It's I just don't get it. I don't get it. Being against something is one thing. It's just I saw a tweet literally just today, I think, where it basically explained that as basically all of the American right wing nowadays is basically a bunch of 12-year-old boys. And that's kind of the understanding. It's like I want to eat I want to eat steak and eat fries. I want to that's basically all the reactionary movement is in the modern day. It's just a bunch of 12-year-old boys mad at the world. And the problem is, now that the bottle's open, there's no way to shut it back. The alt-right is dead because they are no longer alt. DeSantis, the guy who was seen as the last chance to save the GOP from Trumpism, literally retweeted Nazi symbology, and it was later revealed that the guy who made that video worked for him. Jack Posobiec was literally, he's literally just a mainstream conservative pundit now, quote unquote, not because he moved to be part of the more conservative viewpoints, but because the conservatism died and it became reactionarism, and he's like, oh, I can now get in now. He was able to groom Charlie Kirk to be like that, so yeah, I mean, what is there to do? I don't know. This is just a podcast just saying that, yeah, conservatism is dead, and reactionaryism is the thing that has replaced it. But joke's on them. Liberalism is dead too, so they don't have that kind of enemy anymore. And let's just see what kind of world plays out after that. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.